Happening now, a state senator is calling for the split of New York. We hear from him coming up. Plus, Jamestown City Council will vote on installing a new parking ticket amnesty program.
Well, the clouds are going to be slow to clear out this morning, but then we're going to have some sunshine later this afternoon, and fall air is going to be with us for a while. I've got the details next. The news at noon starts right now.
Live and on demand, this is WNY News Now.
And thanks for joining us for WNY News Now. I'm Justin Gould. A bill that aims to divide New York State into 3 regions is coming back into the spotlight. Sponsored by Senator Robert Ortt and co-sponsored by local state Senator George Borrello, the amendment is based on a previous idea of separating upstate and downstate. Specifically, the measure would split the state into 3 autonomous regions: the New Amsterdam region of upstate New York region of New York City, and the Montauk region, Long Island, and Rockland, Westchester. Supporters of the legislation say the creation of the regions would strip the current centralized state government of 90% of its power, transferring it to the regions. Senator Borrello says to comply with the U.S. Constitution, the state would still have a governor, but with limited powers.
I have always been a proponent of local control, and the fact that, as a 10-year veteran of county government, I know how oppressive our state government is with unfunded mandates and other burdens on local government. So part of this would be restoring more power locally in a regional format, but still local governments would have more say in that sense. So in as far as our New York City-based leadership of both the Assembly and the Senate has been derelict in their duty to be a separate co-equal branch of government with the executive, then yes, that is related. But this bill has been around since before the COVID pandemic and those emergency powers.
Now, the legislation was originally introduced in April 2019 and again in January. Well, the Jamestown City Council will vote on a resolution authorizing a parking ticket amnesty program during its September work session tonight. The resolution calls for the amnesty to be for all license plate numbers that currently owe monies for parking violations to the city of Jamestown, except for those license plates under the Scoffle Hold law by the Department of Motor Vehicles. Now, in addition, the resolution says the program will allow for the accumulated principal amount to be paid to the city's treasurer's office in full satisfaction of the original obligation to City Hall. And they can do that through either a donation of school supplies, canned goods, or items for the elderly. Now, the completion of the parking ticket amnesty program will allow all unpaid charges to revert back to the principal and appropriate penalty amounts. Well, the coronavirus has been a life-changing event worldwide this year, but President Donald Trump continues to predict a vaccine will be out soon, despite doubts from some medical experts. Our John Lawrence explains.
President Trump says the U.S. is rounding the corner with the fight against COVID-19, despite an updated model predicting over 200,000 more U.S. deaths by January 1st.
The vaccines are going to be out soon. The therapeutics have been fantastic. We've had a lot of good things happening.
Drug maker Pfizer says it's making progress on an immunization.
We have quite a good chance, more than 60%, that we will know if the product works or not by the end of October. But of course, doesn't mean that it works. It means that we will know if it works.
Many medical experts aren't holding their breath.
To see a CEO get out ahead of the science here, I think, is something that we should all take with a grain of salt.
We don't have enough people in these trials right now that are minorities, that are from vulnerable populations, people with HIV, people with cancer, people of varying age groups.
As work on a vaccine rolls on, President Trump held a campaign rally Sunday night in Nevada where few attendees wore masks and social distancing was at a minimum. The event violated the state's ban on gatherings of more than 50 people.
You don't pack a bunch of people together in indoor spaces. You don't give it the opportunity to have a super spreader event. So this is about 180 degrees off from what you would choose to do if all you cared about was ending the coronavirus pandemic.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
John, thank you. The Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation at the University of Washington says its updated model shows that the U.S. could see more than 415,000 COVID-19 related deaths by New Year's Day. That's about 5,000 more than the model was predicting just a week earlier. Well, the average price for a gallon of gas continues to drop. According to AAA, the demand for gas is going down with summer vacations wrapping up. Virtual learning has also contributed to a lesser need for gas, since fewer students are actually going to school facilities due to this pandemic. The average price of a gallon of gas nationwide is $2.19, a drop of 3 cents from last week. New York's average dropped 1 cent and 22 to 8 cents. Now here in Jamestown, the average price for a regular gallon of petrol is $2.35, that according to GasBuddy.com. Well, we thank everyone for joining us here for WNY News Now as we start a brand new week, and it's certainly kind of feeling like fall out there. Good to see Andrea. Thanks so much for joining us. Great to have Connie join us on the broadcast. Good to see Dave. Good Monday to Pam, Joseph, Dawn, Samantha, and Wendy and Joseph. It's great to see you guys tune in every day. We appreciate you so much for spending your day with us and getting caught up on some local news and weather. Speaking of that weather forecast, let's now get a check of it with Chief Forecaster Dakota Hunter. And Dakota, it really is feeling like fall across much of the area. And tonight we'll be starting to get down into what some would be called pretty cold temperatures out there, right?
Indeed. And happy Monday, everybody. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend. And yeah, this is the first time this season the National Weather Service has issued, you guessed it, frost advisories for parts of the inland areas. This is for Cattaraugus, Allegheny, and also McKean counties in Pennsylvania. And this is the first time this season we've seen that frost advisory issued, and this goes until 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. And again, a frost advisory basically means with temperatures going down into the mid-30s across the valley locations tonight, isolated frost is going to set up. So if you have any tender vegetation outdoors, bring them inside or cover them up, because when temperatures dip into the 30s like that and you get frost, that could harm any tender vegetation that you might have. Satellite and radar composite shows you actually a few clouds, but if we zoom this out to the whole western New York view, what's interesting is you can actually lightly see some of the smoke from the wildfires out that's basically out west coming in from the north. You can actually kind of see it. So tonight, if you have a chance, get out and take a look at the sunset tonight, because there is a chance it could be redder than average with the smoke from the wildfires in the sky. It's very interesting to look at on satellite imagery. 71 was the high yesterday. We started the day at 52. 92 is the record high for this day, and 33 is the record low. I don't think we're going to be breaking record lows with our low temperatures, but we might get close. So through the afternoon today, sun and clouds are going to battle through the early afternoon. We should get into mostly sunny to full sunshine later this afternoon. Cooler, fall-like, only 62 on the highest hilltops to 69 across the lower elevations, with a west-northwest wind about 7 to 16 miles per hour. If you like the cooler air, it's going to stay around, but we do have one day of warmth, and we'll talk about how warm we'll get in just a few minutes. Justin?
All right, Dakota, a lot of people looking forward to not letting summer go quite yet, so we'll certainly be tuned to that. Thank you. A town of Gary man was arrested after allegedly threatening to kill a woman yesterday. New York State Police say 43-year-old James Patali violated an order of protection by visiting the woman at her residence in Gary. Now, through investigation, it's alleged that Patali threatened to assault and kill her. Troopers say Spitali was placed under arrest and charged with second-degree criminal contempt. He was processed at the New York State Police Barracks in Jamestown and eventually taken to the Chautauqua County Jail, pending arraignment in that case. And a 57-year-old Frewsburg woman is facing DWI charges after state police say she crashed her car into construction barriers while allegedly driving drunk over the weekend. Troopers responded to the crash Saturday on Route 394 in Kennedy. Now, through investigation, police say Christine Peterson allegedly drove through the barriers at the closed portion of Route 394, causing damage. She was uninjured in that crash. Police say she was arrested and taken to UPMC Chautauqua Hospital, where she refused to provide a blood sample to determine her level of intoxication. Peterson was issued appearance tickets and released. Police say she's scheduled to appear in the town of Poland court at a later date. Well, coming up next, the village of Fredonia are distributing bottled water this week. We'll have the latest there. And later, a hardware store in West Ellicott will be reinventing the idea of Black Friday. That and more as WNY News Now continues.
With coverage that matters. This is WNY News Now.
EagleZip.com is your local one-stop shop for all of your home and business computer needs. Located on Fluvanna Avenue Extension, just outside of Jamestown, EagleZip.com sells and services all brands of desktops and laptops, as well as servers and network equipment for your business. All new computer sales include transferring your data from your old computer plus a 2-year warranty. Call EagleZip.com today.
Stop by EagleZip.com today and let us make computers easy for you.
I grew up in a single-parent home. We were raised by my mom in a one-bedroom apartment in Queens, and I slept in what was supposed to be a dining room just off the kitchen. We were poor and fell behind in our bills. More than once, our electricity was shut off and there were eviction notices taped to our door. I remember walking into our kitchen and finding my mother standing by the stove, crying to herself because she didn't know what to do and felt helpless. I was about 9 or 10 when our apartment was robbed. I remember arriving home with my mother and brother and finding the door open, feeling confused because the first thing I saw was that our television, a set which forever sat on a stand in the living room, was missing. I know firsthand what it's like to be a victim, to be assaulted, robbed, to have things taken from you which you're never going to get back, and to be scarred by experiences which 30 and 40 years later still haunt me. We're lucky enough to live in Chautauqua County where by and large we feel safe, but unfortunately bad things do happen here. I want to be the district attorney who personally prosecutes the most serious crimes and who's there for victims every step of the way. These are the people I want to represent, to fight for their justice, to fight for our justice in the courtroom, to help people who have suffered at the hands of others. This is why I want to be your district attorney.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
And welcome back. The village of Fredonia will be distributing bottles of water this week after officials issued a state of emergency due to a problem with its water system over the weekend. Officials say the water will be distributed at the village DPW on Eagle Street tomorrow and Thursday from 8 to 11 and 4 to 7 both days. On Thursday, the Chautauqua County Health Department ordered customers of the Fredonia water system to boil their water after high levels of cloudiness was found in a sample taken Wednesday of last week. Residents who need further assistance can call 716-679-5131 during normal business hours. We have that and more information posted right now on WNYNewsNow.com. Well, Chautauqua County Executive P.J. Wendell has been endorsed by one of the state's largest unions representing government workers. Wendell, in a media release today, announced he's been endorsed by Civil Service Employees Association County Local 807 and the CSEA Region 6 Political Action Committee. The executive says he's proud of this endorsement because the groups represent many local county government employees. Wendell says he's concerned about the safety of county workers, especially as they work to come home each day to their family. Wendell, the endorsed Republican candidate for Chautauqua County Executive, is running against Democrat Richard Morrisroe in this fall's election. Well, nearly 16,000 children in the U.S. are diagnosed with cancer each year. For patients, every moment is a milestone. In recognition of Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, we're highlighting a 15-year-old's fight back to the soccer field after a brain tumor. Our Mandy Gaither has her story in today's Health Minute.
Soccer's always been the thing in my life.
If you think a sport can't inspire, a picture can't empower, Joey Martin can prove you wrong.
Say score. Okay.
About 8 months ago, this 15-year-old started getting headaches. At first, told it was migraines, but a CT scan later revealed a tumor on the stem of her brain. Through emergency surgery to intensive care, then rehab, this picture hung in every hospital room, a beacon on her darkest days.
I did not want to have played my last soccer game and not have really gotten to relish that.
In the past, side effects from therapy may have sidelined Joey, but a type of antibody was used to cut off the blood supply to her tumor, helping it to shrink, says Dr. Douglas Graham, chief of the Aflac Cancer and Blood Disorders Center at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta.
We have advances now that we're curing children, not only with better and more effective therapies, but we're doing it in a way that's less toxic and has less side effects to the patient.
Every second of her fight against cancer, Joey dreamed of getting back on the field. Last month, it became reality.
It's just really enjoying every minute on the field and not taking that for granted.
What she's done is a miracle. It is an absolute miracle.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Oh, Mandy, thank you, certainly is. Dr. Graham says more than 80% of all children with cancer can be cured, but there's plenty of work still to be done, including more research on how to treat patients without side effects. Many who receive therapy have a chronic health condition because of their treatment. Well, the popular candy Peeps won't be in Halloween baskets or Christmas stockings this year.
Yes!
That's due to a coronavirus-related production issue. It gives us more trick-or-treats and one less treat there. And 2020 really has been crazy, but I guess this is good news for Dakota. The company that makes Peeps says it suspended production of its candy brands back in April to help protect its employees' health. Well, as a result, their holiday-themed marshmallow treats won't be back in stores until at least early next year. Valentine's Day Peeps will also be unavailable this coming February. The company has resumed limited production in May. Certainly, Dakota, a lot of people like Peeps, a lot of people don't like Peeps, but I'm actually not a pretty big Peep fan, but this is kind of funny. Your mom, for some reason, one day I must have mentioned that I liked Peeps or something, I'm not sure. And she keeps buying me Peeps. I'm really grateful, but they're not my favorite thing in the whole wide world.
I'm glad because honestly, I hate Peeps. They are nasty. I hate those things. I'm glad we won't see them this year.
See, it's like if you gave me a Peep, I'd eat it, but it's not my favorite thing in the world. But I see. It's just I think it goes back to that whole supply line. Is everything's so interconnected, and with companies being shut down, it's like we really can't now that we're back to normal, even though it's not really normal. There's still some shortages and things like that, and that's what we're seeing with Peeps. So if you're a Peep lover, we're sorry.
Why are you? There's a better question.
Why do you like Peeps? Why don't you like Peeps?
They are because they're gross.
Why?
Oh.
You don't like the texture of them?
No, they are gross all around. The way they taste, the texture, they're just awful. So no.
Well, let's check in with the comments, see if anyone else likes Peeps. Samantha says, too much sugar. Yuck. It's good to see Sandy. Good to see Dave. Hopefully Dave agrees. He says, awesome, no Peeps. He doesn't like Peeps. Joe says
Dave and
they're too
I are
sweet.
riding, yes.
Joe says they're too sweet for him. That's why he doesn't like Peeps. Good to see Amber, Lisa, and Tabby as well. Hopefully everybody's having a good day. Thanks so much for tuning in. And Dakota, I think as we mentioned at the top of the show, fall is really coming at us full bore here. I was looking at next week's temperatures, and it looks like we're going to be pretty chilly, especially overnight a lot of times.
Oh, yes. That fall air is going to be coming in, and it's going to be coming in with a nice little surprise. Hey, let's take a look at Links 1 here. And if you have anything to do out in the yard over the next 5 days, any mowing, yard work you want to do, picking up tree branches or leaves, it's really going to be good. Now, on Wednesday, we are giving you a yellow light, and that's mainly because there will be a chance for a spotty or isolated shower. But we'll see. We might, we might kick that back to our green light. But basically, everything else is going to be great for this week. Red light, green light, go. Anyway, any Josh Turner fans will know that. Anyway, clouds get out of here today. So we have those cloudiness basically early this afternoon. They're going to get out of here later this afternoon. It's going to be cold and frosty for some tonight. Yes, we're talking about the word frost for the first time this season. I know, go ahead and start throwing things at your screen if you're not a fan of the cooler air. But we will have a very brief, and I want to emphasize brief, warm up later this week. We'll spike back into the 70s, and it's going to be rather quiet and boring. So, hey, we're going to be bored in the weather office, but our boredom is your gain. Get out and enjoy the rather calm weather. 59 right now as a noon hour. Got a healthy north wind of 12, and the dew point still relatively low at 48 degrees today. So, again, the dew point not going to be a factor for at least a little while. So, as we mentioned at the top of the show, we do have a frost advisory that is in effect for Cattaraugus County, Allegheny County, and also McKean County in Pennsylvania. And this starts 1 a.m. tonight and goes until 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. And the main thread here is with temperatures dropping into the mid-30s, especially down in the little nooks and crannies in the valley locations, frost will likely develop. And any season planners will know frost can harm or kill tender vegetation. So what do we do, Jay? You cover them up or you bring them inside. So if you have any of those tender plants, make sure you do that tonight because the growing season is going to be rapid, because it's not rapidly, but it's going to be coming to an end. Hey, tropics, very active. We have 5 systems currently active in basically in the Atlantic. We have Paulette, Renee, Teddy, Vicky, and we also now have Sally that's in the Gulf of Mexico. And Sally is going to be our thing that we're going to keep an eye on. It's not going to impact us here, but if you have friends or family along the Gulf Coast, keep an eye on this. Look at this explosion of convection right near the center of the storm. That is a great thing to look at. It's weather porn for those of you who are weather people. Yes, that's exactly what it is. And the forecast track of this is at least going to take this up to at least a Category 1 hurricane before it makes landfall and then curve along the Gulf Coast states. So just keep that in mind if you have friends or family down there. But the issue is we're running out of hurricane names. 5 of these are in use. We only have Wilfred left, not Wilford Brimley, but we have 5, but we have 1 name left. And I'm guaranteeing you right now, you heard it first here, we're going to the Greek alphabet. I mean, we have 2 months left of the hurricane season. We're in peak season. We're going to the Greek alphabet. I'm guaranteeing you that. Zone forecast right here along the inland areas today, maybe mid-60s across much of the area. Once you get into the valley locations and the hills, likely lower 60s there. Now, near the Lake Erie shoreline, you'll stay warmer today because the Lake Erie shoreline's obviously flat, so you'll warm up a little bit here, maybe around 70 around Erie, 69 in Edinburgh. The next 7 days of your life goes a little like this: 69 tomorrow. There's that brief warm up on Wednesday, 77, sunny and milder. And then as we go into the later part of the weekend we drop the temperatures back down into the 60s, and we'll likely start Saturday morning down into the mid-30s across much of the area, but at least the sunshine over the weekend will make it feel a little bit warmer. Justin.
All right, Dakota, thank you. Coming up next, we get a peek at the first fall foliage report. That and more as WNY News Now continues.
Want weather now? Download the WNY News Now mobile app and stay up to date on severe weather alerts. Plus, anytime hazardous weather strikes, stick with the Southern Tier's only 24/7 streaming network that keeps you safe. You're all in a tornado warning, so now is the time to go to a safe place, small room, lowest floor, near the center, away from windows. What are you waiting for? Download the WNY News Now mobile app today. It's free in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store.
You're watching WNY News Now, your source for breaking news.
There's an old saying, there's no news in the newsroom. Well, it's true. The time I spend at the anchor desk is just part of my day. Most of our time is spent gathering stories in the community, stories that matter to you. We can't do it alone, and we need your help. When you see breaking news or have a news tip we should know about, drop us a line on Facebook today, email our news desk, or call our newsroom at 488-7226 so we can bring those stories straight back to you.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
Well, expect Black Friday to be a more passive affair in the world of COVID holiday shopping. Home Depot is officially axing the idea. Instead of doorbusters, the home improvement warehouse will offer Black Friday-inspired deals over a 2-month period starting in early November. Fewer people are likely to want to cram into those stores this year, but the truth is Black Friday has been dying a slow death for many years. More retailers are starting to offer deals on Thanksgiving, and many shoppers have flocked to online sites to avoid the crowds. Home Depot says it will offer holiday deals in store and online, with an edge growing to shoppers who use its mobile app, which will offer exclusive early access to some special prices. Well, this is interesting. New sale figures show CDs are now out of style, and the new craze is vinyl. Sales of the retro records outpaced those of CDs in the first half of this year. That hasn't happened since the 80s. Sales for the old school format brought in about $230 million, almost doubling that of CDs. But streaming music is still the new norm. Consumers dropped about $4.8 billion on that in the first 6 months of 2020. Well, here it is, fall lovers, pack your pumpkin spice jean jackets and get ready to head out, because I Love New York is reporting the first signs of the state's colorful fall foliage. The updated map reports fall colors are appearing in upstate regions, including the Adirondacks, Catskills, Central New York, and Hudson Valley. The reports came from field observers and reflect expected color conditions for the coming weekend. Now, officials are urging travelers to follow state health guidelines, including wearing a face covering and maintaining the appropriate social distancing. The map is updated every Wednesday. Well, we thank you for joining us here for WNY News Now as we start a brand new week. Let's say hello to Tony, Diane, and Linda. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Let us know what you're thinking about in the comments down below. Let's turn back now to Chief Forecaster Dakota Hunter with a final look at our weather. And Dakota, I think the story really, it is fall. And I was driving through the area. I took a little getaway this past weekend coming back, and already over 2 days' time, there were leaves starting to change out there.
Yep. And I mean, you know, it's going to be dependent on where the cooler temperatures are. That's what causes the leaves to change, is the cooler air. Now, unfortunately, it's been too warm here recently for the leaves to start changing. But as we're now getting into the cooler air, statistically, this is when we start getting into the cooler fall-like air. Expect some leaf changing here pretty soon. And hey, tonight, I don't think we're going to see leaf changing tonight, but take a look at this, 35 in the deepest valleys. Yeah, you might want to turn your heat on, possibly, if you're in the valleys. 44 elsewhere, mainly clear and chilly. Patchy valley fog and frost will likely set up. So if you have any tender vegetation, make sure you bring them inside or cover them up tonight to prevent damage.
Yeah, certainly we're going to want to be doing that. Dakota, thank you very much. That's it for us today. Of course, we remind you when you're on the go, you can simply stay in the know by downloading our mobile app. It's free in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. We're back tomorrow. Hope to see you then.